Right, so let's dive into landing pages or landers. So on the landers page, this is where you'll configure, modify, create, delete, and so on, all of your different landing pages. Note here that if you archive your landers, you can show the archived ones using this actual drop down here. Okay, and you can bulk import landers should you want to. Maybe you need to create a lot of them, or you're coming from a different tracker and you've exported your landers from there and you want to import them in here. This is where you can do that. Just check the CSV template and it should adequately explain all of the different things that you can that you'll need to do the import. Okay, so let's click on Add New Lander. Now, landing pages are relatively simple. They're generally a page that you control. They're identical to offers in most ways. The key differences being that offers have an offer source rather than just a specific or a generic category, and offers can convert. Landers cannot convert, so they cannot have revenue associated with them. Now, that's not to say that in your reporting you won't be able to see conversions or revenue on landers. What I mean is it's the offers that actually do the conversion and have the revenue associated with them. And then in your reporting, you can just see at the lander level what visitors actually came from that lander and later converted. But the conversion itself happened on the offer, not on the lander. Okay, so I'm going to add some lander here, if I can spell. For category, these are just containers, otherwise they're just for organization. So I can add some category here and put it into that if I want. Okay, as for the URL, put whatever URL you want here, testdomain.co/landers/some.html. Okay, so let's say that's my lander domain. My lander doesn't actually exist, but yeah. Okay, so if I, in most cases, that would be fine. You don't need to pass data to a lander specifically if you don't want to. So in terms of tracking with Funnelflux, there's no requirement for you to send data to this lander. I mean, when Funnelflux receives a user and is going to redirect them to that lander, Funnelflux already knows everything there is to know about that user, right? So there's no point in passing additional information to that lander for Funnelflux specifically. You'd only really pass it to the lander if you want to use that information on the lander in some way. So for example, I might want to pass device equals, and I want to pass the make or model of the device. This is where I can use the URL tokens here, and I can insert a token for a lot of the information that Funnelflux knows about the visitor. So let's say device, maybe device model. Okay, so you can just click these to add them to the URL, and it's up to you to go through this URL and edit things as you please. Okay, so there we go. Now, as for the last part here, the redirect type, the two defaults that you should use are 301 and 307. They are the same in terms of speed. The only difference is that 307, if encountered by a search engine or some system that is, spidering your site, a 307 basically indicates this is a temporary redirect. Don't consider the final destination as permanent, whereas 301 is moved permanently. So basically, I always just use 301. I think it's just the simplest one to use. The other redirect modes we have are Ultimate, Meta Refresh, and Fluxify. But before I touch on those, I just wanted to mention that this redirect type here, it affects the redirection process on getting to the lander, not the redirect going out from the landing page. So if I have a tracking link that redirects to the lander, I'll load the tracking link and it will 301 redirect to the lander. If I put it on Ultimate Meta Refresh, it will load the tracking link, then do an Ultimate Meta Refresh, and then load the lander URL. So given that these landers are in 99% of cases a page you control, you should have it on these fast modes that are as quick as possible. Ultimate Meta Refresh is a technique where it loads an intermediate page, which basically refreshes and then redirects out. It's a way of hiding referrers and trying to blank the referrer. why would you want to do this to your own page, right? It would basically be you wasting time going through a slower redirect to try and obscure a referrer, but your tracking system already knows the referrer and you're sending people to a page that you control. So it's a bit silly to use it for that situation, right? So just use 301 or 307. Fluxify, this is a very advanced feature. It's a feature that will actually pull this link or this URL here into the FunnelFlux tracker. Like the FunnelFlux server itself will download that page, it'll cache it and store it locally, and actually serve it from your tracker domain rather than from whatever URL you have in here. And then you can do a lot of advanced functions. So you can use link rewriting, and you can rewrite different URLs, and you can rewrite them to actions as well. And you can rewrite HTML. You can do a lot of different things, but this is a very advanced feature, and using it is not as straightforward as just turning it on and being like, "Ooh, I'm advanced." So that'll be discussed in a different video, just completely dedicated to how Fluxify works and how to use it. But you can use it on offers as well. In fact, it's more useful on offers, and it's a feature which lets you, in many cases, either test a lander or an offer without having to specifically download the page and do all these modifications. So it's a way to almost hijack a page and test it for your own purposes very quickly. But it's also a way to improve some difficulties with offers. For example, if offer pages have got extremely slow redirects and load speeds, you can potentially improve things for yourself by using the Fluxify feature. But again, I will cover that in a completely separate video for those of you who are interested in how to use that feature. Okay, so that's everything for the actual lander setup here. When you do create landers, they're an intermediate page, right? And people are going to have to click some button or call to action on them, which then takes them to the next destination. This will send, or the goal here is for that link on the landers to send people back to FunnelFlux, for FunnelFlux to then make some decision on where to send them next. This is the primary way most redirect-based trackers work, right? So you're going to need to put some links on some lander.html, which actually do this. Where to get those? Well, if you just go to the system links section, you'll see the generic universal links here. Here we go, funnels action click URL. This is the URL to use on your landers to redirect visitors according to your funnel paths. You can have as many as 64 action click URLs on the page. So if I open just a quick text document, and I'll set this to HTML, there we go. If I had some link on my page, I would set the link here to this. And I would put an action number. The default's going to be 1. There we go. So on my landers, I would use this link here for my call to actions. And depending on my funnel design, I might have multiple actions. So I might have Flux action 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on and so on. This again is the link that will send people back to the tracker for the tracker to decide, okay, someone coming from that lander, executing action 1, based on my funnel diagram, where should I be sending them? And we'll get into more detail about these action URLs when we go to building a campaign, because although they're very simple and there's this universal URL type here, you can also have ones that put extra parameters in them for situations where the visitor might not have come through a tracking link to get to your landing page. But again, we'll deal with that when we actually get to building a campaign. Okay, so that's essentially everything you need to know about landing pages. So I'll see you in the next video.